So, Warcraft the movie. I don't think it deserves the savaging critics gave it. I mean, it's a video game movie. There are low expectations for video game movies, so it's easier to just savage them in critical analysis. But honestly, it's just meh. And that's coming from someone that, well, okay, Dot Hack and games by CyberConnect that are not related to Naruto may be the owners of my heart, but Blizzard owns my soul. I'm admitting that straight out. I have a World of Warcraft account. I'm using the game time that comes from the movies to actually get my account back in order. Their games are like crack. I love StarCraft. I really, really do. I played the first Diablo. I played Warcrafts 1, 2, and 3. I didn't get into Diablo 2 as I wasn't that big on Diablo 1 to begin with, especially with the branching paths and all that, but they make good games. I'm not doing anything with Overwatch or their card game Hearthstone because I have other things. Well, I'm bad at FPSs to begin with, so I'm not even going to get near that. And Yu-Gi-Oh's already got me trumped on the card game thing. So, yeah, I'm definitely a minion of Blizzard in all that respect. So, yeah, it was kind of expected that I would go see it. I was on the fence, honestly, to the point I almost didn't because, come on, it's a video game movie. Even though I've reviewed one of the best ones, they're still really not that good if they come from America. And this one, yeah, it's still not breaking the top records of It's not anywhere near the best video game movies, but much like Ratchet and Clank earlier this year, even a meh movie is good on the American production video game scale. I mean, it has the production value. It has the script that it adapted from Warcraft 1, Orcs and Humans. It has it's coherent, and you can understand the actions. Unfortunately, due to the time the movie occurs in, it's not allowed to develop all of them properly because of how it splits its focus. But had it not split its focus, I feel it would have been weaker overall. I mean, this was a decision from the director themselves that the general production team that they didn't want to make this movie just from their perspective of the humans fighting the orcs, one side good, other side bad. So that's definitely one of its merits in that it shows both sides fairly. The orcs having a different society and culture compared to the humans, and this being an element showcased in the games as well, and how they have the human campaign and the orc campaign in the original RTSs, and likewise World of Warcraft, which is split between the Alliance and Horde sides that, while they ultimately want to do things in different ways, are ultimately desiring the same ultimate ends, like prosperation for their people, the defeat of the fell horde and the demon stuff. It kind of alludes to the Legion storyline with the movie bringing in the actual big bad of the Warcraft universe, Sargeras, a demon that is the influence of all the Fel power. Now, I haven't played Warcraft 1 in a long time, mainly because I can't get it to run on any computer I have. It is literally that old. I can run StarCraft, the original, and Brood War on my computer due to a special emulation thing that Blizzard set up. I also no longer have the codes for Warcraft 3, The Frozen Throne, which I haven't played in a long time. I actually lost my serial number code for that, so that doesn't work either. But considering how far along the storyline for that has gone, it's just it's not applicable. It's not relevant for it. And I have kind of followed the story stuff in World of Warcraft to an extent. You kind of, since you so prioritize stuff on leveling, some of the story stuff in each of the regions, it feels more small until you get into the late game stuff. Like most of the story stuff is locked into and related to World of Warcraft's dungeons, but if you are a solo player, if you don't party with people, then you can only get a small glimpse in it. Now, Warlords of Draenor, I feel, fixed that fantastically in that while there were certainly dungeon-based storyline stuff, most of the relevant storyline for that whole happened in main quest chain progression gameplay. Like, you see the actual villain of the expansion die during your quests during World Wars of Draenor, completely outside of the dungeons. I know from down the grapevine that a lot of people were disappointed with Warlords of Draenor, but personally I've been finding it fun, a lot more fun than I did vanilla WoW, and I know that's going to put me on the negative side of WoW fans, considering Blizzard recently demanding the takedown of the biggest vanilla gameplay server, which, honestly, I hated vanilla WoW. I came in around the Burning Crusade expansion where they started changing a bunch of things, and it lost me around Wrath of the Lich King's release, so... And they really didn't update a lot of that stuff until Cataclysm hit. Now, some people would say that it would be better to have a pre-Cataclysm, post-Cataclysm system for, high-level players to be locked into something, and then it changes for the personal graphical representation. But honestly, that's not doable for those kinds of servers. It's all post-Cataclysm original environments, and then you got Pandaren for 85 to 90, and then you go to the time-displaced Draenor for the Warlords of Draenor stuff, and it gets a bit convoluted if you're not into it. And I kind of keep tangenting on this because it really factors into the movie. It's a bit too convoluted in the lore it's trying to set up. It also diverges from that lore, but you expect that to an extent when you're going from video game, where you can have all of this in there because, hey, it's a part of the game. You need to have the cohesive experience, and then cutting it down to a 2-hour movie. So you need to be able to have narrative flow. You need to introduce the threat. You need to introduce the conflict between characters. You need to have the motions for peace in a way that is consistent with the depiction of the species. Like humans in the Warcraft universe, while they make war, while they are strong with war, they are actually the diplomatic species. Dwarves are the forgers of weapons. Night elves are the ones attuned with nature, and dwarves and elves would naturally have a conflict between them because one group raises the land for their manufacture of materials, and the other is protectors of the land and all that. So yeah, for them to be tied together between the humans, that actually works in narrative, especially since they stop wars and they support the wars of other people. Not so much when they're trying to get help with the wars that can affect everyone else, which is a critique of the movie, since it's very human and orc-focused, like the original one, when they show that these other species all appear. And there's admittedly a bit of a disconnect, too, in that they're included, but they don't really matter to the movie. Like, the human side opens with, I'm actually looking up the Warcraft page because I could not keep all of this together. One of the dwarves gives one of the main lead characters, Lothar, a gun at the beginning of the movie. It's not a Chekhov's gun, but it's kind of a superfluous element, as he really only uses it a couple times. One significantly to remove the hand of the orc Blackhand, which factors into something that comes in later in the movie. So it's necessary, but he could have easily lopped off the guy's hand with it, or mutilated the. Wait, no, that was a different character entirely. I apologize. The orc he shot with the gun died in that, so. But yeah, it has those little diversions. But I think what really helped. Was one of the movie's strengths was the focus on Garona Halforsen, played by Paula Patton. She is a orc Draenei. Draenei are kind of like the tentacled cloven-hooved blue race. If you're not familiar with the Warcraft lore, that kind of looks pseudo-human, and because she's half Draenei, she's a slave to the orc, and she gets taken on one of their raiding parties, and is freed by one of the orc protagonists after their raiding party is defeated / killed, and she ends up in the hands of humans and helping them, and pretty much becoming a bridge to potential peace in the future by having received kindness from the humans to understand their cultural perspective, while also understanding her own cultural perspective of war and honor and all the Klingon stuff, where they're not completely they're not so different, you and I, kind of stuff. And I think that really helped the movie by both sides being helped tied together through her, and the others that pretty much made up her quote-unquote party that the movie focused on. Another being Khadgar. Now, I've actually met Khadgar a couple times in various World of Warcraft events. He is the high archmage of the mage groups in the games, but here he is effectively a vagabond, having abandoned pretty much his magely duties because he felt he had a different calling, and he's taken in and slightly mentored by Medivh, the guardian of Trisval, who is a super powerful mage that has unfortunately become possessed by a demon of the Fell, who I mentioned before. What's his name? Sargeras. Yes. And you see, even when I'm trying to describe this stuff, it's all convoluted. It's necessary, but it's complicated for anyone coming in without knowing anything. It's like the same problem that Lord of the Rings had, where it had to space its story out between three movies, and then you had to space out the first book that's a prequel to it to 3 movies. So that's the problem with high fantasy. It's, for everything to work correctly, you need to space it out so you got character stuff and okay, to compare this to Lord of the Rings in and of itself, that's a bad idea. Do not go in expecting Lord of the Rings. But the interracial conflict is helped a lot by how the orcs are not just automatically villains. On the orc side of things, there is the story of Dorotan and his tribe of... not tribe, his clan of orcs known as the Frostwolf, who are not taken by this power known as the Fell that the war chief of the Horde, who promises them fresh lands and all this stuff that they've lost because their homeworld of Draenor has been salted due to, ironically, Gul'dan's own actions, because as he is possessed by the Fell, not possessed, but as he has the power of the Fell, he is effectively possessed by a demon, and all their Fell powers come from absorbing the life force of everything around them. So he originally caused the effective death of Draenor in that he took all life away, and he promised the orcs they would have this new world full of life that he's just going to drain dry again for his higher order demonic masters. So the conflict with the orcs is all premeditated by this third party, which allows a better perspective on orc culture, in that while they are, yes, this violent people, there is I don't want to say a nobility, but there is a structure to their traditions where they could, I don't know, find somewhere else to conquer and rule if it was like a self-sustaining thing that the fell corruption is making impossible. So the the demons pretty much have their unwitting army in this, as what they want is in life are simple comforts that they don't think they think or they're just wasting away, and the war chiefs who think in bigger terms than that of self-perpetuating prosperity are kind of wary of the fell and trying to subvert Gul'dan's efforts to just raise another world without their own clan knowing, after they realize that the same thing that happened to their world is already showing itself in the camps they made on Azeroth. So one of the interesting things for the movie for me that I think helped sell it was Durotan attempting to form an alliance with the humans of the Alliance to stop Gul'dan, not so much shut down the portal but pretty much trade the people they've captured to power the portal, because the all fell power runs on stolen life, and their portal to Draenor is powered by all this demonic energy that needs the life still, and they need to build it on the Azeroth side to complete the gates to Draenor to bring the rest of their forces in, and you see where I'm going with it's too convoluted for its own good. But yeah, definitely a merit as I'm describing it is how they get to show both sides of this conflict fairly. It was one of the things that worked with Civil War. While you could certainly choose a side and try to justify that side's perspective, it wasn't all that black and white. It was like a muddied level of grays where the difference in cultures would prevent permanent peace, but the active war is being, I keep saying this, facilitated by a third party and their machinations. But yeah, as I am a fan, I did note a lot of the war. I'm a bit more casual than a lot of the diehard fans to catch all of this stuff, and as I said, I've not played the original game. My memory is not that good on the full storyline for that one. However, I know there are changes. I'm pretty damn certain that Lothar and Garona did not have a whole romantic angle to them in the original one. It's obviously not been rekindled at any point in the current progression of the World of Warcraft storyline, because they're both still alive, and that, much like Khadgar, Garona is a quest NPC for the Horde side, and Lothar is Master Descendant. I actually forgot where he is. Prince of the human nations, demi-human races of the Eastern Kingdom from the alliance of Lord Aaron, since Anduin was a neutral party. So, I was completely wrong about that. He perished in combat at the base of Blackrock Mountain against the Orc war chief Orgrim Doomhammer, just before the end of the Second War and the closing of the Dark Portal. Okay, Second War would have been either Warcraft 2 or Warcraft 3. Like I said, it's been so long since I played the RTS ones, I'm a bit blanking on their side of the storyline. So, would I recommend the movie? Honestly, for video game movies, it's not that bad, but if you're not familiar with Warcraft stuff from its early days, or are not a fan of World of Warcraft, or really don't care about the storyline stuff in World of Warcraft, it's probably not going to be for you. If you're a super diehard, know all of this stuff, you're going to be annoyed by the changes that I know exist in there. It's a bit rushed on the character. It's a bit rushed on story events. They jump from point to point on things that is not inherently cohesive. Like, they jump to assumptions that are, while they are true, they don't fully justify their existence. It's just to motivate the next story point, which are handled very well, but the transition from one to the other is a bit sloppy. It's like trying to show as much of a piece of Azeroth as you can before. If you've played World of Warcraft, you kind of see how all the setting points stay together, which kind of does make it work, but it's an overall weak movie in my opinion. If you ever want to try out Warcraft, look up the movie first, because they're only giving away free copies of the game and game time at certain theaters. I went to Regal Cinemas to get mine. They're going to be on short supply. The movie has already made back its initial to make the movie investment. It's not gained back the funding for its advertisement, but at this pace, it's finally opened internationally everywhere. So that was just like China and a few other select regions where it did that. So it's probably going to easily make double its earnings by the time it's gone through that. So it's not like it's going to be a complete failure of a movie. It's just too crowded. Ratchet and Clank, by comparison, was Hollywood generic, but had time for all the characters because it was a small cast, whereas all of these other people influence events and other things in it that you need to be paying attention through it to hold an appreciation for it. And I really do think that the strongest character in the film is... See, I'm doing it again because there's so many of them that the name isn't sticking. Is Garona. So, yeah, ultimate consensus. If you want to get into Warcraft, it's not a horrible point to get in on, but it kind of tells you how complicated everything can get. Yeah, I'm considering after this doing a bit of free play of the games just to give an idea of what the main Warcraft product is now, because hey, I've got this, might as well use it. So yeah, if you're at all curious about Warcraft, give it a shot.